So this has arrived in the post today. Nice little package. Recently put out a call to the LLA group asking for recommendations on a cheap but functional backyard cutter to do some cutting practice with. So I followed one of the recommendations. So this is a piece of crap, Joe. It's down to you. No, but to be honest, I did follow one of your recommendations, but I didn't actually choose the thing that you were recommending because it was a little bit steep. So I went for a slightly cheaper option, same company, but hopefully it's going to be reasonable. So let's have a look. Let's try and get into this. So the joys of cutting through packaging. Seems to be pretty well packaged. Oh my God, it's like a Russian doll. The more you cut away, you find more inside. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Seems to come in a box inside. That's it. Right. Still with me? Good. I must say the packaging pretty secure on this. Boxes within boxes. Keep that for later. Right, we're getting there, we're getting there. Okay, here we go then. Right. All very nice, all very secure. So, just briefly, so this is a cold steel. It's not the Italian longsword that you suggested, Joe, but it's more of a hand-and-a-half sword. It's from a slightly cheaper range that they do, which I think they call the man-at-arms range. Yeah, man-at-arms range, which is designed for a budget. I looked up some reviews for it. I didn't find any reviews for this particular hand-and-a-half sword, but within that range they do other types of weapons, and one of them was a Kriegmesser, which did have some reviews, and they were reasonably favourable, so I thought I'll take a punt on it. Wasn't that expensive, relatively speaking, so let's have a look at it. The good thing about it being a hand-and-a-half sword as well is that hopefully it should allow me to do some cutting practice with both one and two hands. That was the thinking anyway. So, here we are. I'll just slide off the tag. Right, I'll just be a little bit careful here because although it comes with a sheath, the way it's been packaged is the sword is outside the sheath, so sharp edges on display. No problem. Now I realise that's the case, I should be a little bit more careful. Right, let's see if I can get into this. Oh, nice and oily. Immediately, you can feel the oil. Let's just roll that tag off. Be careful to avoid the sharp edges. It's well packaged. It's definitely well packaged. Last bit of tape, by the looks of it. There we go. So there's the scabbard, still packaged. Actually, I say scabbard, I mean sheath really. I believe it's just a leather sheath. But feels quite sturdy. So there's the sword itself. It's still in its wrapping at the moment, but you can probably see something rather unusual about it. I can see it in the light. You see that? It's not shiny. It's like a dark gunmetal finish, which I quite like the idea of, actually. Let's see if I can slide it out this bit of plastic. It's very nicely oiled, very, very nicely oiled. I mean, there's absolutely no problems with it in terms of how it's arrived. be a little bit careful because I'm now covered in oil. But it's, yeah, it's fairly functional, finished. Quite a functional finish on it. I mean, nothing fancy at all. Still a nice pommel. I like that kind of pommel. I'm a bit of a sucker for scent stopper type pommels. Comes with a threaded tang, which is fine. Allows me to tighten it up should it come loose. Reasonably nice grip. I mean, again, nothing posh. Pretty straightforward. Stitching on the seam there is pretty good. I mean, it's not awful. It's not super brilliant, but it's not awful. And then the crossguard is very, very basic, very functional. Doesn't really matter. I'm only going to be cutting with it. I'm not going to be trying to fence with the thing. And then you have the blade itself, which, as I say, is this nice sort of gunmetal finish on it. It's good size for a 1.5 hand sword, I would suggest. Comes up to about, if I'm just careful with the point, comes up to about my belly button. Yeah, around about my belly button. Is it sharp? Is it sharp? Well, that is the question. It obviously has some sharpness to it. Yeah, and that's trying to bite onto my thumbnail. So I would suggest there's a reasonable amount of sharpness in that. Other side. Yeah, that's trying to bite onto my thumbnail. Which isn't too bad. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be like amazingly super service sharp or anything. And I don't think it is. Not that I'm an expert on sharpness. But I think that is fairly reasonable. It's got a small blunt section right down by the crossguard, which is fine. Don't need it sharp down there. And then sharpness feels pretty even all the way up. Just having a look, seeing it's got much distal taper. Wouldn't say it's got a huge amount of distal taper. Certainly has a bit of profile taper. Sense of balance. Yeah, it's. I think that lack of distal taper results in it being fairly end heavy. I would suggest it's about 1450 grams. This, which is fairly weighty for something of that sort of size, that sort of length, and quite a bit of that feels like it's towards the business end, which hopefully should make it quite a hefty cutter, assuming it's sharp enough. But yeah, I think obviously I want to give it a go properly. I think for the money, that's reasonable, just under 300 quid's worth. Not too bad, not too bad.